Hey there, Heather, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Cutter Top 10 sports video. And today we're going to be looking at the top 10 Canadian boxers of all time. As I decided to go patriotic for the whole thing to do with boxing and give you the top Canadian boxing pugilists of all time. So here we go. Number 10 is Steve Molitor, who was known as the Canadian Kid and actually was a world champion, two-time IBF super bantamweight champion. And it was a tight division and all that, and he was pretty good at what he could do as a super bantamweight. At number 9 is Jimmy McLaren. Jimmy McLaren was born in British Columbia and actually was a welterweight icon in the 1930s, practically doing quite well in the Great Depression era, but he would actually beat several Hall of Fame fighters during his career and make himself known as a Hall of Famer, which I think he was inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, if I remember correctly. Number 8 is Willie DeWitt, who was an iconic boxer for Canada. And he would win silver at the 1984 Olympics and was a Canadian and Commonwealth champion. So he almost won gold. I can't remember who it was. It was one of those American boxers who took him out. But yeah, Willie DeWitt knew what he could do and had to do it. So he would be doing his job. Now he actually became a successful lawyer and judge in the penal system and after retiring from boxing, so he knew how to parlay everything from boxing to become a good lawyer and a judge. He was a judge of character, that's for sure. At number 6 is the fighting fisherman known 7. Sorry, wrong fingers. Sorry. Number 7 is Yvon, the fighting fisherman Durrell. Yvon Durrell was a pretty good fighter and all that from New Brunswick, and he looked pretty good. He had a famous fight with Archie Moore for Archie Moore's title in 1957 at the Montreal Forum, and it looked like Durrell was going to actually pull the upset. And through the first 6 rounds, it looked like Durrell was going to beat Archie Moore for a world title and give Canada some help. But unfortunately, Durrell ended up losing the fight. And, Archie Moore made that big comeback. But Archie Moore admitted that it was the closest he felt to losing was to Durrell, who had won the fight for a few rounds. Number 6 is Razor Ruddock, aka Donovan Ruddock. Razor Ruddock was known for his smash left hook, and he was an up and coming fighter in the 90s. He was a good fighter. He was a good fighter in the 90s, and it looked like Ruddock was going to be a world champion. He would fight Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and Evander Holyfield, among others. And he had strength and stability and all that. He was kind of an underrated heavyweight in the 1990s. So that's what ended up happening and knew what he had to do. At number 5 is Jack Delaney. He was born in Quebec. He ended up being a world light heavyweight champion in the 1920s and would fight as a heavyweight. He knew how to fight. His technical skills and punching power earned him acclaim on both sides of the border. Delaney would actually more than likely be an American fighter by proxy and all that, and knew that, his heart belonged to Quebec, but he was an American in a sense. So he knew what happened to him. Number 4 is Arturo Gatti. Arturo Gatti was known for his heart and epic battles in the ring. Gatti was born in Italia and then went to Canada and, fought and was a pretty good champion and all that. He was inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and his trilogy with Mickey Ward, his trilogy of fights would be legendary. In fact, it's called one of the greatest trilogies of all time, akin to Ali versus Frazier. Yeah, Gotti and Mickey Ward. They made a movie about Mickey Ward. They didn't against Gotti. I don't know why. But yeah, Gotti would have big fights, and everyone in Canada liked him. Unfortunately, though, he had some issues and all that. And in Brazil in 2009, he did the unspeakable. He allegedly murdered his wife and then took his own life. So that was a bad ending to a good story and all that. Number three is Sam Langford. He was born in Nova Scotia. He represented America in most heavyweight circles, but he was Canadian, and it's weird how Title Belt Boxing calls him Canadian and Legends of Boxing calls him American. But anyway, Langford was known as the Boston Tar Baby because born in Nova Scotia, and then as a youngster he would move to Boston and would be huge. He would be a lightweight, then a heavyweight, and Langford looked pretty impressive. Unfortunately, though, he would never win a world title. A lot of people said that it was because of the racial barriers of his era, because he was known for fighting in the 1900s and 1910s. No, or the 1890s. I can't remember what era, but yeah, early in the era, Langford was a good fighter, but because of racial barriers, he was known as being the black heavyweight champion of the world, but not, you know, a real world heavyweight champion, which was kind of awful. Number two is Lennox Lewis. Now, he was born in England, but he came to Canada at a young age and settled in Kitchener Waterloo. Of course, the area where I am from. So anyway, Lennox Lewis would go to Eastwood, would actually box quite well. He actually mentioned Kitchener while he was doing a Monday Night Football thing in 2002, saying Kitchener Waterloo, and how it would help him and all that. Be a good boxer. And then Lennox would go to the 2004, 1984 and 1988 Olympics, representing Canada. Lewis would end up losing to Tyrell Biggs for the gold in 1984, but in 1988 he was 4 years better, and he would fight Riddick Bowe in the championship. Bowe would take a standing 8 count and would lose by referee stoppage in the second round. People said that Bowe was robbed and all that. That, he should have beaten Lennox Lewis. Lewis won a gold medal for Canada, which was pretty good. So Lennox Lewis did his job. And everything. But Lennox versus Bowe, that would actually be the prelude to the Roy Jones Jr. cheatery. That was kind of the same day as Roy Jones Jr. losing by a worse decision by the judges. However, Lennox would become professional and would go back to England to represent England instead of Canada, which sucks because we could have had a great Canadian champion. Anyway, he was undisputed heavyweight champion, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. He ended up winning one of the division's title belts through his opponent. I think it was Riddick Bowe putting him in the garbage. But yeah, Lennox Lewis won the title that way. And Lennox would be producing pretty good fights. So even though he lost to Rahman, he won the title back. And then, he was good. But number one is a Canadian icon known for his toughness, resilience, and inability to be KO'd. That is right. His name was George Chuvalo. George Chuvalo, I believe, is still alive, but yeah, he was known for his iron chin and relentless style. He would actually be fighting people like Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. Chuvalo would fight Ali at Maple Leaf Gardens in 1966. Remember, this is before the whole draft brouhaha with Ali. But anyway, in 1966, at Maple Leaf Gardens, Chuvalo would face Ali and all that. And it was hard to see, but Chuvalo had Ali on the ropes a few times. Ali took down Chuvalo, but it went to the judges and Ali beat Chuvalo. But it was a great fight, and it was a great friendship. I mean, Chuvalo, I think, fought Ali one more time in Vancouver and lost. But anyway, Chuvalo aside, he could be known as a legend. And he was a legend. I mean, he had like, what, 3 or 4 boys, and Unfortunately, two of them, or even three of them, did some bad stuff and all that. Chuvalo basically was known for having lost his children at a young age and all that, which was kind of awful. Chuvalo was pretty good. He wasn't heavyweight champion, but the dude never got KO'd in his career, meaning that, yeah, he lost some fights and all that. But the fact of the matter is, he never got KO'd. So, in essence, that was kind of amazing how Chuvalo could battle everyone and produce and not get KO'd and all that. Sure, he got knocked to the canvas, but he still had a few fights where, he lost by the judge's decision and all that. Basically, he left it in the judge's decision if he lost, but if he won, he KO'd everybody. So that's plain as day can see. George Chuvalo is a Canadian icon. Don't you forget it. Anyway, I'm jumped. I'm gonna do.